If you've ever played with Beyblades by yourself or with other people, then you know just how popular this franchise is, especially in Japan. There are a number of Beyblade games for the DS and one for the Wii, but I'm not going to be talking about those. I'm going to be talking about the PSP game, which, in my humble opinion, is truly excellent. And I apologise if you aren't interested in this video, but it is what it is. User interface. Now, this PSP game is Japanese only, as there was no Western release, which makes playing it a little difficult unless you know Japanese or use Google Translate, and my Japanese knowledge is limited to hiragana, so I mainly just used Google Translate to help me navigate the menus. This wasn't very hard, however, as the menus are quite intuitive in themselves, and once you know where something goes, you'll then remember its position and then remember what it does based on the position in the menu. But before going through the main menu, I quickly want to look at the style of the UI itself, because it seems to be quite an overlooked area of general game design, which I feel needs more attention and love towards. So this game enforces a sci-fi style, which fits with the theme portrayed in the anime, where all the computers have a blue futuristic colour scheme. Of course, this isn't the same UI that's used in the anime, but it would be great if it was, but it's still referencing back to the style, which makes a link to the anime itself, as does most of the game, as you'll find out later. So parts of this UI are simple in their style, whereas other parts are more complex, which creates a differentiation in the functions of different elements. Some people may see this and notice that it's not very consistent, but I would argue that because of this inconsistency in a certain style, it then makes each element have its own function, where you see what the image is and then you know that it does this certain thing because it's got that image on it. This then makes it easier for non-Japanese players to identify common functions that certain elements do. Anyway, I'll now quickly walk you through the menus, but keep in mind that these translations will be rough as they were translated with Google Translate. There are 5 main options in the main menu. From top to bottom, these are Story, Battle, Communication, Garage, and Options. The Story option lets you play through the story, which I'll explain more about later. The Battle option lets you battle in one of 3 game modes against AI, and I'll explain more about these later also. The Communication option lets you connect with a friend and play against them. The Garage option lets you customize your Beyblades with up to 5 different ones at a time. These can then be used in battles in the story, with AI, or in multiplayer battles. The Options option lets you change certain settings like music and sound effects volume. The story. So I'm not super knowing in the plot because it's all in Japanese and I mainly skipped over it, but I'll try to summarize it. And this goes without saying, but there will be spoilers in this part. The story revolves around a similar plot to the Beyblade Metal Masters series, except you only fight in the B block here. This means that there are no bays from the A block and there's no 4D bays, but for some reason Meteo, Eldrago and Mercury Anubius are featured. It does include most characters from Metal Masters though, with the exceptions of Demore and a few others. The main premise is you play as Jinga and Team Gang Galaxy going around the map beating other representative teams, which include Wang Huzhong, Lavushka, Wild Fang and Excalibur. Whilst doing this, however, you meet some Egyptians. I'm not sure what the story is regarding how they got there, but I'm sure it's not too important. So anyway, they're trying to take over the world or something, so naturally you must stop them by defeating their big boss. The Egyptians also have loads of mummy henchmen, and so to take down these henchmen, you must battle them in normal battles, which are usually you versus 2 or 3 of them, as well as doing some kind of course where you need to get your bay from point A to point B without running out of stamina. It's very odd, but I'll tell you more about it later in the video. Beating the final boss in a bay battle will finish the game and give you the chance to fight Ryuga to obtain the Eldrago parts. The final boss himself is quite difficult, but I found that there was a way to cheese the game and just make him run out of stamina. The final boss also uses a brand new bay that's only in this game, you can't buy it or anything, which is quite cool actually. There isn't much of a post-game apart from fighting some more people around different places, so most of the fun comes from the battles themselves. Gameplay. The main game mode is a normal battle, like you would have in real life. These are up to 4 players where you all launch your bays at the same time in a sort of mini-game, but it's not really a mini-game. So you move the joystick nub thing in a circle and increase a bar on the left. I think this increases your rotation speed at launch, and then when you're about to launch, you need to time a circle getting smaller correctly to get the best launch. So I'm not too sure what the actual effect is of timing the circle correctly, but it does seem to make your character come on the screen if you do it well, so there's that. After launching, the bays are moved around the stadium in the opposite rotation of which way they spin. So clockwise spinning bays move anti-clockwise and vice versa. You can move the joystick nub thing to influence the direction that you want your bay to move in, which is great to aim an attack at someone or to get out of the way of an attack. This then opens the doors to a potential competitive scene that could and should have been explored further, but it wasn't, sadly. But anyway, there are 3 more game modes: Team Battle, Field Bay Battle, that's what I got from Yandex anyway, and Big Bay Battle, once again from Yandex. The Team Battle is 3 one-on-one matches with 3 different characters on either team, and victory goes to the one that gets 2 wins first, so it's very similar to the battles in the actual tournament. The Field Bay Battle is the same as the ones used when fighting with the Egyptian mummies. They're a bit of an odd addition, but aren't very hard. So whilst trying to get to the end, there are smaller spinning things that slow you down and decrease your stamina. The rounder ones of these make you bounce off, which significantly slow you down. But there are also boosts on the floor, like in various kart racing games, which give you a speed boost. But if you don't finish these within the time or run out of stamina, then you lose and must restart. The Big Bay Battle is where up to 4 players face a huge Beyblade and must attack it whilst avoiding its own attacks. The fights against these in the story can be quite challenging, but with some strategy they aren't too hard. The overall gameplay is quite intuitive and encompasses some other parts from the Beyblade anime, like special moves, which you can use once you fill up your green bars. I'm not too sure what these are called because I can't read Japanese, but they fill up when you can use your special move. During the battle you can use several abilities for attacking and defending. The square and triangle buttons both have different defensive abilities, and the circle button has an attacking ability, whilst the X button increases your stamina a bit, I think. I'm not too sure on this, but it does something with your stamina anyway. In addition to these, there is a bar that fills up during the battle quite quickly. You can only use your abilities when the bar is full enough, and how long the ability lasts for is also dictated by how far the bar is full, as the bar decreases when an ability is used. Your stamina is on the left and decreases throughout the battle. It also decreases when hit by another bay. I'm not too sure if it decreases more when you're the one getting hit compared to the one doing the hitting, but it decreases nonetheless. Customization. As mentioned previously, you can customize the Beyblades you use. There are 5 slots you can use to create 5 different combinations to choose when you battle. Each slot contains 4 parts you can customize. There would be 5 like in real life, but the face bolt and the energy ring are combined into one, as they should both be of the same name anyway, so it's just easier to make them into one. The 4 parts are the face bolt and energy ring, fusion wheel, spin track, and performance tip. These can be switched and changed with almost any other part in the game, with the exceptions being the El Drago and Perseus energy rings and fusion wheels, which can only be used with their respective parts. You can change the spin track and tip on these to whatever you want, however. This means that you can theoretically make any Beyblade from the Metal Masters series you want, apart from those seen in the A block, like Team Starbreaker's bays as well as Basalt Herogium. Each part has their own values for attack, defense, speed, weight, and stamina. All these values have 2 parts to them, apart from the weight. The attack has RAT, and I don't really know what this means. The defense has RDF, and I don't really know what this means either. But the speed has CT, which I think means control, and stamina has BL, which I think means balance. So as you can see, this is actually quite an in-depth system, which makes me think even more about what could be if they try to make a competitive game with these systems. But anyway, each part influences the greater pentagon of values for the bay itself. So having a sharp tip instead of a flat tip will make the stamina value higher, and decrease the attack value and speed values at the same time. Sounds. Being a PSP game, the quality of the sounds isn't amazing, but the music certainly bops. And the sound effects that aren't voices fit the game well, and also add another level of immersion to the battles. I'm not saying that the voices are bad, but they are Japanese, so I don't know what they're saying. Overall thoughts. So, in my opinion, this is the best Beyblade game that's been made, especially in comparison to some of the more shoddily made DS games, although the mobile game was great too. The story is quite generic, but at least it tries to differentiate itself from the anime in some way by introducing a new plot. The gameplay is well done and could open the doors to a competitive scene, although that never saw the light of day if it was planned at all. The models themselves do look quite good by today's standards, but the spinning animations do look quite iffy, but it's still the PSP. What can you expect? The game is an overall fun and enjoyable experience if you're willing to invest some time into learning what the buttons do and using Google Translate a bit. It's quite certainly sad that it never got an English translation, but not much can be done about that now, apart from modding maybe. I don't know how that works though. So I do recommend that you give it a try, especially if you're a fan of the Metal Fight series like I am. And the younger people that may have missed this generation really should go back and play this just to see what all the hype was about and why it's such a good generation of Beyblade. So anyway, this is a far cry from my normal videos, which is fine, because I'm planning on doing more of these kinds of videos in the future, so if you're interested or like them, then some support would be appreciated. I also have a Discord server, so if you want to join that, then the link is in the description. But with that said, I hope this helped, and have fun.